Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the exploration ship Horizon. The stars stretched out before them like tiny diamonds scattered across black velvet. It was just another quiet patrol mission along the outer rim of human space. Jake had been doing these runs for 3 years now, and most days nothing happened at all. The bridge was peaceful. His communications officer Ryan Cole was reading a book on his tablet. Dr. Lisa Hayes was studying some alien plant samples in her lab down the hall. The rest of the crew went about their daily tasks. Jake liked it this way. Peaceful was good. Then Ryan's console started beeping. "Captain, I'm getting something strange here," Ryan said, looking up from his tablet. "It's an encrypted signal, but not from any human source." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "Alien? Has to be. The encryption is unlike anything we've seen before. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 4 light years from here." Dr. Lisa Hayes walked onto the bridge. She was a small woman with brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail. "Did someone say alien signal?" "That's right, Doc," Jake said. "Ryan, can you break the encryption?" Ryan worked at his console for several minutes. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. "I think so. Give me a few more minutes." Lisa sat down at her science station. "If this is really from aliens, it could be the most important discovery in human history. We've found ruins in dead civilizations, but never a living species trying to communicate." Jake nodded. In all their years of space travel, humans had found plenty of evidence that other intelligent life existed. Ancient cities on dead worlds, strange artifacts floating in space. But they had never made contact with a living alien civilization. "Got it," Ryan said suddenly. "The signal is decoded. But Captain, you need to hear this. Put it on speakers." A strange voice filled the bridge. It sounded like water flowing over rocks, with musical tones that rose and fell. But somehow, the universal translator was working. Slowly, words began to form double quotes, "please ... Anyone who can hear this message. We are the Velani of Aquatica Prime. Our world is dying. Our people are being taken as slaves. We have heard stories of the Deathworlders from the 3rd planet of Sol. If you exist, if you can hear us, please help us." The message repeated several times, then went silent. Lisa stared at her console. "Deathworlders? Are they talking about us?" "Has to be," Jake said. "We're the only intelligent species from Sol 3. But why would they call us Deathworlders?" Ryan pulled up star charts on his screen. "Kepler 442 is definitely in distress. I'm reading multiple large ships in that system. None of them match human designs." Commander Sam Torres walked onto the bridge. He was Jake's second in command, a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. "I heard the alert. What's our situation?" Jake quickly explained about the alien message. Sam listened without interrupting. "So what do we do?" Sam asked when Jake finished. "Regulations say we report this to Earth Command and wait for orders," Jake said. "But that could take weeks, maybe months." Lisa was studying her readings. "Captain, I'm detecting weapons fire in the Kepler 442 system. Whatever is happening there, it's happening right now." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was small but experienced. Ryan Cole had served on exploration ships for 8 years. Lisa Hayes was one of the best xenobiologists in the fleet. Sam Torres had been his friend since their academy days. "Ryan, can you analyze the signal more? I want to know everything about these Velani." "Already working on it, sir. From what I can tell, they're aquatic. Their language has patterns that suggest they live underwater. The signal came from a planet that's mostly ocean. And they're asking the Deathworlders for help," Lisa added. "That suggests they know something about us. Maybe they've been watching human space." Sam crossed his arms. Or maybe other species talk about us. Think about it. We come from Earth. Gravity twice as strong as most habitable worlds. Weather that can kill you in minutes. Animals that hunt for sport. Maybe to other aliens, our planet really is a death world. Jake had never thought of Earth that way. To him, Earth was just home. Yes, it could be dangerous. Hurricanes, earthquakes, predators, diseases. But humans had learned to deal with all. Of that, it was just normal life. "Sir," Ryan said, "I'm getting more signals. The Valani are still broadcasting. But I'm also detecting signals from another species. The language is completely different. Much more aggressive sounding. Put it." Through the translator. This time the voice was harsh and grating, like metal scraping against stone. "Villani scum will submit or be destroyed. Your pathetic resistance ends now. Krex Empire claims this system." The signal cut off. Lisa's face went pale. They're talking about the Vellani like they're nothing, like they're just animals to be hunted. Jake stood up from his command chair. "All hands, this is the captain. Report to the main conference room in 10 minutes. Within minutes, the key crew members had gathered. Jake looked around the table at his people. These were good men and women. They had signed up to explore space and make peaceful contact with alien species. "You all heard the messages," Jake said. "The Vellani are asking for help. They're calling. Use Deathworlders, which suggests they think we're some kind of warriors. Meanwhile, this Krex Empire is attacking them." Chief Engineer Ben Carter spoke up. "Captain, we're just one ship. An exploration vessel. We're not equipped for combat." "True," Jake said. "But we're the only human ship in this sector. By the time we could get help from Earth, the Vellani might all be dead or enslaved." Pilot Maya Rodriguez leaned forward. "What do we know about these Krex?" "Not much," Lisa said. "But their language patterns suggest they're aggressive and territorial. Classic predator species behavior." Sam looked at the star charts. "It would take us 18 hours to reach the Kepler 442 system. 18 hours to decide if we want to. Risk our lives for aliens we've never met." Jake looked around the table. "I know what regulations say, but sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. These Vellani are asking for help. They're being attacked by someone stronger than them. They can't defend themselves." Ryan checked his console. "The distress calls are getting weaker. I think the Krex are jamming their communications." "Vote," Jake said simply. "All in favor of responding to the Vellani distress call?" Every hand in the room went up. Jake smiled. "Then we go to war." The horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the main screen and felt his stomach drop. The system was full of ships. Big ships. Alien ships that looked nothing like human designs. "My God," whispered Dr. Lisa Hayes from her science station. The Krex warships were massive. They looked like giant metal spears with weapons, bristling from every surface. There had to be at least 30 of them patrolling between the planets. Smaller ships moved back and forth like worker ants. "Ryan, are you getting any Vellani signals?" Jake asked. Ryan Cole worked at his console. His face was tense. "Very weak. Signals, Captain. They're definitely being jammed. But I can make out a few words. They're still fighting." Pilot Maya Rodriguez turned in her seat. "Captain, those big ships haven't spotted us yet. We're still running silent behind this asteroid field." Chief Engineer Ben Carter's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I'm reading. Massive energy signatures from those alien ships. Their weapons are unlike anything in our database." Jake studied the tactical display. The largest Krex ships were positioned around Aquatica Prime, the ocean world where the Vellani lived. Smaller ships moved down to the planet's surface regularly. They were probably taking prisoners. "Maya, Can you get us closer without being detected? I think so, sir. These asteroids provide good cover. But once we get within scanning range, they'll see us for sure. Commander Sam Torres pointed at the screen. Look at those mining platforms. They're actually draining water from the ocean world. Lisa checked her readings. The Velani are aquatic. Without their oceans, they'll die. The Kreks aren't just conquering them. They're committing genocide. Jake felt anger building in his chest. These Kreks were not just warriors. They were monsters who killed entire species for resources. Maya, take us in. Stay in the asteroid field. As long as possible. The Horizon moved carefully through the floating rocks. Maya was an excellent pilot. She had grown up flying through the dangerous asteroid belts around Mars. This was just another day's work for her. Captain, Ryan said, I'm picking up clearer Velani transmissions. They're coordinating some kind of resistance movement from underwater cities. Can you make contact? I think so. Give me a few minutes. Jake turned to Sam. What do you think? Our chances are against those ships? Sam looked at the tactical display. Honestly, we're outgunned about 50-1. But those ships look slow and heavy, built for overwhelming firepower, not maneuvering. The Horizon is fast, Maya added. We could probably outrun them if we had to. Lisa was studying the alien ship designs. Captain, I don't think the Kreks have ever fought humans before. Look at their ship configurations. They're designed for fighting other species that use similar technology. What do you mean? Their weapons are all high-energy beams, good for destroying slow-moving targets. But humans fight differently. We use kinetic weapons, missiles, fighter craft. Our tactics are based on mobility and unpredictability. Jake nodded. Humans had learned to fight in Earth's chaotic environment. Storms, earthquakes, floods, fires. Human military doctrine was built around adapting to changing conditions. Got them, Ryan said suddenly. I'm in contact with the Velani resistance. Put it through. The flowing musical voice filled the bridge again, but this time it sounded desperate. Unknown ship, please identify yourself. Are you the Deathworlders from Seoul? Jake picked up the communications handset. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship Horizon. We received your distress call. There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sounding amazed. Deathworlders, you came. I am Reef Singer Coral Dreams, leader of the Deep Current Resistance. We never dared hope you would actually answer our call. We're here to help. What's your situation? Bad and getting worse. The Kreks have taken most of our surface cities. They're draining our oceans and taking our people as slaves. We've retreated to the deep ocean trenches, but they're hunting us with underwater machines. Jake looked at his crew. They all had the same expression. They wanted to help, but they were just one small ship. Coral Dreams, we're going to need to land on your planet. Can you guide us to a safe location? Yes, but be careful. Kreks patrol ships guard all the landing sites. Maya leaned over to Jake. Captain, I have an idea. What if we don't land at a normal site? What do you mean? The Velani are aquatic, right? What if we land directly in their ocean? The Horizon is sealed for vacuum. It should handle water pressure just fine. Lisa's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. The Kreks wouldn't expect anyone to land underwater. Jake smiled. Sometimes the best solutions were the simplest ones. Coral Dreams, can you guide us to a deep ocean location away from Kreks patrols? Yes, there's a trench near our main resistance base. Very deep. The Kreks machines cannot go that far down. Perfect, we're coming in. Maya began piloting the Horizon. Toward Aquatica Prime. She stayed behind asteroids and space debris, moving like a ghost through the outer system. Kreks patrol coming our way, Ryan warned. Big one. On the screen, A massive Krex warship was moving directly toward their position. Its weapons were charging up. "They've seen us," Sam said. "Maya, evasive maneuvers." The horizon suddenly dove and twisted like a dolphin in water. Maya threw the ship into a spinning dive that would have made most alien pilots sick. But humans were used to Earth's chaotic physics: sudden storms, earthquakes, tidal waves. They had learned to handle rapid changes in motion. The Krex ship fired its main weapon. A beam of energy lanced through space where the horizon had been a second before. "Their targeting systems can't keep up with us," Maya said with a grin. "These guys fight like they're used to slow, predictable enemies." The horizon weaved between asteroids while the Krex ship fired again and again. Every shot missed. The alien ship was powerful but clumsy. "Entering atmosphere," Maya announced. The horizon dove toward the blue ocean world below. The Krex ship followed, but it was built for space combat. In the planet's atmosphere, it became even slower and clumsier. "There." Lisa pointed at her screen. "I can see the ocean trench. It's like an underwater canyon." Maya piloted the ship straight down into the alien ocean. Water rushed past the viewports as they descended into the depths. The Krex ship above them gave up the chase. It couldn't follow them this deep. 2 kilometers down and still going, Maya reported. "The horizon is holding together perfectly." On the sonar display, Jake could see movement in the water around them. The Velani were coming to meet them. "Coral Dreams, we're in your ocean, ready to make contact. Welcome to Aquatica Prime, Deathworlders. We have much to discuss." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They had just committed themselves to a war against impossible odds. But looking at their faces, he could see they were ready for the challenge. Humans didn't back down from a fight, especially when innocent lives were at stake. The real battle was just beginning. The horizon sat on the ocean floor like a metal island in the deep blue darkness. Strange lights moved around the ship as the Velani approached. Captain Jake Morrison watched through the viewports as the alien beings came closer. The Velani were beautiful in an otherworldly way. They looked like a cross between dolphins and humans, with smooth blue-green skin and large eyes that glowed softly in the dark water. They moved through the water with perfect grace, their bodies designed for life in the deep ocean. "Pressure suits, everyone," Jake ordered. "We're going outside." The crew put on their diving gear. The suits were designed for underwater exploration, with built-in life support and communication systems. Within minutes, they were ready to leave the ship. The airlock filled with water, and Jake led his team out into the alien ocean. The pressure was enormous, but their suits handled it easily. Human technology was built to survive in the worst conditions. Reef singer Coral Dreams swam toward them. She was larger than the other Velani, with intricate patterns on her skin that seemed to shift and change like living art. When she spoke, her voice came through their communicators as music mixed with words. "Welcome, Deathworlders. We have waited so long for someone to answer our call. We're here to help," Jake said. "But we need to understand what we're fighting." Coral Dreams led them to an underwater city built into the walls of the ocean trench. It was amazing. Coral formations had been shaped into buildings that glowed with bioluminescent light. The Velani had created a civilization that worked with their environment instead of against it. "The Krex came 6 months ago," Coral Dreams explained as they swam through the city. "They destroyed our surface cities first. We tried to fight, but we are a peaceful people. We have no weapons, no soldiers. Only artists and scientists and dreamers." Dr. Lisa Hayes looked around in wonder. "Your city is incredible. How do you make the coral grow like this?" "We sing to it," Coral Dreams said simply. "We have been partners with the ocean life for thousands of years. But the Krex do not understand partnership. They only know how to take and destroy." They entered a large chamber where hundreds of Vellani had gathered. Jake could see fear in their large eyes, but also hope. The arrival of the humans had given them something they had lost. "Tell us about the Kreks," Commander Sam Torres said. "How do they fight?" An older Vellani named Flow Through Depths swam forward. "They are land dwellers from a dry world. They wear heavy armor and carry energy weapons. They move slowly, but they are very strong. Their ships rain fire from the sky. But they cannot swim," Coral Dreams added. "They use machines to hunt us underwater. Metal beasts that move like fish, but think like computers." Jake nodded. "We've seen their ships. They're powerful, but not very maneuverable. How many Kreks are on your planet?" "Thousands, maybe more. They keep bringing more ships." Marine Sergeant Alex Johnson had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. "With respect, Captain, we need to see these Kreks for ourselves, study how they fight." "Agreed. Can you take us to where they're operating?" Coral Dreams hesitated. "It is very dangerous. They have sensors that can detect movement in the water." "We'll manage," Jake said. "Humans are good at dangerous situations." They left the underwater city and swam toward the surface. The Vellani moved like they were born in the water, which they were. But the humans adapted quickly. Their suits had small thrusters that helped them keep up dot as they rose through the water. Jake could see the destruction above. The Kreks had built floating platforms on the ocean surface. Massive pumps were draining water from the sea and loading it into tanker ships. The sight made him angry. "They're stealing your world," he said. "Not just stealing," Coral Dreams replied sadly. "They are killing it. The ocean life dies when they take too much water. Entire ecosystems are collapsing." They reached a point where they could see the surface clearly. A Krek's patrol boat was moving slowly overhead, its sensors sweeping the water below. The boat looked like a floating fortress, covered in armor and weapons. Suddenly, one of the Vellani made a sound of alarm. 3 underwater machines were approaching from the east. They looked like metal sharks with glowing red eyes. "Krek's hunter-killers," Flow Through Depths said. "They must have detected us." The machines moved fast through the water, much faster than the Vellani could swim. But they moved in straight lines, like they were following a computer program. "Everyone stay calm," Jake said. "Alex, you have any ideas?" Sergeant Johnson studied the approaching machines. "They're moving in a search pattern. Systematic but predictable. On Earth, we'd call this a basic sweep formation. Meaning? Meaning they're not very smart. They're following a program, not thinking for themselves." Jake smiled. "Maya, can you pilot in water?" Pilot Maya Rodriguez checked her suit's controls. "These thrusters are basically the same as spacecraft maneuvering systems." "Yeah, I can work with this." "Good. Here's what we're going to do." Jake quickly explained his plan. The Vellani looked confused, but the human crew nodded. They had trained for situations like this, even if they had never expected to use those skills underwater on an alien world. The Kreks machines approached in their rigid formation. They moved like they expected their prey to run away in panic. But the humans didn't run. Instead, they spread out and waited when the first machine came within range. Maya activated her thrusters and shot upward like a rocket. The machine tried to follow, but Maya twisted and spun in ways that its programming couldn't predict. She had learned to fly in Earth's chaotic weather patterns. This was easy by comparison. The machine fired its weapons, but Maya was already somewhere else. She led it in a wild chase through the water while Alex and the others positioned themselves for the next phase of the plan. "Now!" Jake shouted. The humans attacked the remaining machines from multiple directions at once. They used their suit thrusters to move in ways that the Krek's computers couldn't understand. Sudden stops, sharp turns, spinning maneuvers that would have made any normal species sick. The machines had been programmed to fight Villani, who moved gracefully but predictably through the water. They had no programming for dealing with chaotic human tactics. Within minutes, all three machines were disabled. The humans had used their tools and weapons to damage the machine's sensors and control systems. Incredible, Coral Dreams said. You fought like the ocean itself, wild and unpredictable. We learned to fight in storms, Alex explained. On Earth, you have to be ready for anything. They returned to the underwater city with the disabled Krex machines. Ben Carter and Lisa Hayes began studying the alien technology while the Villani watched in amazement. Their systems are advanced but inflexible, Ben reported. They're designed to overwhelm enemies with superior firepower, but they can't adapt to unexpected tactics. The Krex have probably never fought anyone like us. Lisa added, most species develop predictable military doctrines, but humans learn to fight in Earth's chaos. We don't follow patterns. Jake looked around at the gathered Villani. We can teach you, not to be warriors, but to be survivors. To use your own environment as a weapon. You would do this? Coral Dreams asked. We're not leaving until your people are free, Jake said firmly. But we're going to need your help. You know this world better than anyone. Over the next few hours, the humans began teaching the Villani basic resistance tactics. They showed them how to use the ocean's pressure, temperature, and currents to their advantage. How to move unpredictably. How to strike fast and disappear. The Villani were quick learners. They began to understand that their peaceful nature didn't mean they had to be helpless. They could defend their home without becoming killers. As Jake watched the training sessions, he realized something important. The galaxy had called humans Deathworlders because they thought Earth had made humans into monsters. But the truth was, different. Earth had made humans into protectors. People who could survive anything and help others do the same. The real war was about to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at Aquatica Prime. The underwater city was now filled with activity as Villani resistance fighters prepared for their biggest operation yet. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the command center. As his crew worked alongside their alien allies, the Villani had learned quickly. They moved through the water with new purpose, using the techniques the humans had taught them. They struck Krex patrols and vanished into the deep trenches before the enemy could respond. Each successful attack gave them more confidence. Captain Ryan Cole called from his communication station. I'm picking up transmissions from the Krex command ship. They're requesting reinforcements. Jake smiled grimly. How many? Sounds like they want their entire destroyer fleet. They're calling us a major threat. Dr. Lisa Hayes looked up from her research. One human ship and a bunch of peaceful fish people are a major threat to their empire? I think we've hurt their pride. The truth was, the humans had turned the tide of the war by teaching the Villani to think like guerrilla fighters. The ocean world had become a nightmare for the Krex forces. Every day brought new attacks from unexpected directions. Sergeant Alex Johnson swam into the command center, his diving suit dripping with water. Captain, the latest raid was a complete success. We took out 3 more mining platforms and freed 200 Villani prisoners. Any casualties? None on our side. The Krex are so confused they're shooting at their own shadows. Jake nodded. The Krex had built their entire military around fighting conventional battles against predictable enemies. They had no experience with the kind of warfare the humans had brought to Aquatica Prime. Sir, Pilot Maya Rodriguez said, I've been thinking about our next move. The Krex are getting desperate. They might try something drastic. She was right. Desperate enemies were dangerous enemies. The Krex had the firepower to destroy the entire planet if they chose to. Commander Sam Torres studied the tactical displays. We've been hitting their supply lines and patrol boats, but their main fleet is still intact. Those big ships could glass this planet from orbit. Then we need to take them out, Jake said. But how do we get close enough? Reef singer Coral Dreams glided into the chamber. Over the past weeks, she had transformed from a frightened refugee into a confident resistance leader. The deep singers had been working on something, a way to reach the surface without being detected. What kind of way? Follow me. She led them through the underwater city to a section they hadn't seen before. Here, the Vellani had been growing something massive. It looked like a living ship made of coral and sea plants, but it was clearly artificial. We call it the Leviathan, Coral Dreams explained. It's part ship, part creature. It can travel through water and space, but it looks like a natural sea. Animal to most sensors. Chief Engineer Ben Carter swam around the bioship, examining its structure. This is incredible. How do you control it? We sing to it, said Flow Through Depths. Like we sing to all the ocean life. It understands our intentions and responds. Lisa was amazed. You've created a living spacecraft. This is beyond anything human science has achieved. But can it fight? Alex asked. Those Krek ships have serious firepower. It is not built for fighting, Coral Dreams admitted, but it can carry fighters. Vellani warriors and human soldiers working together. Jake studied the bioship. It was large enough to hold his entire crew, plus 50 Vellani fighters. More importantly, it could get them close to the Krek's fleet without being detected. How long? Until it's ready? It is ready now. The Leviathan has been waiting for its first mission. Over the next few hours, Jake worked with Coral Dreams to plan their assault on the Krek's fleet. They would target the command ship first, then work their way through the destroyer formation. It was a desperate plan, but it was their only chance. The human crew made their final preparations. Maya practiced piloting techniques that would work in the Leviathan's organic control systems. Alex organized the Vellani fighters into combat teams. Ryan set up communication equipment that would work in the bioship's living hull. This is insane, Sam said quietly to Jake. We're about to attack a fleet of warships using a living creature and a bunch of amateur fighters. I know, Jake replied. But look at them. He pointed to the Vellani, preparing their equipment. They moved with confidence now, no longer the frightened refugees they had been when the humans arrived. They had learned to fight for their world. They're not amateurs anymore, Jake continued. They're survivors. And they're fighting for their home. The Leviathan rose slowly through the water, carrying its cargo of fighters toward the surface. As they climbed, Jake could see the Krek's fleet through the bioship's transparent sections. 20 massive warships hung in orbit like metal vultures. Target the command ship first, Jake ordered. Once we take out their leadership, the rest of the fleet will be confused. The Leviathan broke the surface of the ocean so smoothly that it barely created a ripple. To the Krek's sensors, it looked like a large sea creature coming up to breathe. The alien warships ignored it completely. Incredible, Maya whispered. We're invisible to them. The bioship began to climb toward space. Its living hull adapted to the changing environment, growing thicker to protect against the vacuum of space. Jake had never seen anything like it. Approaching the command ship, Coral Dreams announced. Prepare for boarding. The Leviathan attached itself to the Krek's vessel's hull like a giant parasite. Its living tissues sealed around the alien ship's armor, creating an airtight connection. Go, go, go. Alex shouted. The fighters poured out of the bioship and into the Krek's vessel. Aliens inside were completely unprepared for a boarding action. They had built their ship to fight other spacecraft, not to repel invaders. The Krek soldiers were large and heavily armored, but they moved slowly in the ship's corridors. The humans and Vellani fighters used their speed and agility to outmaneuver. The enemy. Bridge secured, Alex reported over the radio. The Krex commander is down. Jake and his team reached the ship's command center to find chaos. The Krex crew was panicking without their leader. They had never faced an enemy that could appear inside their own ship. Ryan, can you access their communication system? Already. On it, Captain. I'm sending a message to all Krex ships in the system. Jake picked up the alien communicator. Attention, Krex fleet. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Horizon. Your command ship is under our control. Surrender now or face the consequences. The response came quickly. Humans, you are the Deathworlders. We will not surrender to abominations. Then you've made your choice, Jake said. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Leviathan moved from ship to ship, delivering boarding parties directly into the heart of each Krex vessel. The aliens' own weapons were useless against enemies who appeared inside their defenses. One by one, the Krex warships fell silent. Their crews either surrendered or fled in escape pods. The mighty destroyer fleet that had terrorized the Vellani for months was defeated in less than 2 hours. All ships secured, Alex reported. The Krex fleet is ours. Jake looked out at the stars through the command ship's viewports. In the distance, he could see other alien vessels approaching. But these weren't Krex ships. The energy signatures were different. Captain, Lisa called from her sensor station. I'm reading multiple alien species. They're broadcasting peaceful intentions. Ryan worked at the communication console. I'm getting messages from dozens of different civilizations. They're all asking the same thing. They want to know if the Deathworlders will help them too. Jake realized what was happening. Word of the human victory had spread through the galaxy. Other species that had been terrorized by the Krex Empire were coming to ask for help. Coral dreams, he said. I think your people are about to have a lot of new friends. The Vellani leader smiled, her skin patterns shifting to show joy. The ocean sings of great changes coming. The Deathworlders have shown us that even the smallest can stand against the largest when they fight together. Jake nodded. The war for Aquatica Prime was over, but a larger conflict was just beginning. The galaxy was about to learn what humans really were, not conquerors or destroyers, but protectors who would stand with anyone willing to fight for freedom. 6 months after the liberation of Aquatica Prime, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned station Hope's Harbor. The massive space station orbited the Vellani homeworld, serving as headquarters for what the galaxy now called the Freedom Alliance. Through the viewports, Jake could see an incredible sight. Ships from dozens of different alien species floated in formation around the station. The Granite people had sent their rock-armored battleships. The energy-based luminals contributed their glowing shield vessels. Even the insectoid hive minds had joined with their swarm fighters. Captain, Communications Officer Ryan Cole called from his station. We're getting reports from the outer sectors. The Krex Empire is mobilizing their entire military. They're calling it the Final War. Jake nodded grimly. The Krex had spent months regrouping after their defeat at Aquatica Prime. Now they were coming back with everything they had. This would be the battle that decided the fate of the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Hayes looked up from her science station. The numbers don't look good, Jake. Intelligence reports say the Krex are bringing over 500 warships. We have maybe half that number. But we have something they don't, Commander Santoris said, walking onto the bridge. We have unity. Every species in our alliance is fighting for the same thing. Freedom. That was true. The Freedom Alliance was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Different species working together, sharing technology and tactics. The humans had become the glue that held it all together, teaching other races to fight as one. Sergeant Alex Johnson entered the bridge wearing his new uniform. He was now Colonel Johnson, commander of the Alliance Marine Corps. Captain, all ground forces are ready for deployment. We've got Valani swimmers, Granite People heavy assault troops, and human special forces all working together. Admiral Marcus Webb appeared on the main screen. He was broadcasting from the human battleship Defiance, which had arrived from Earth 3 months ago with reinforcements. Jake, we're reading massive energy signatures on the edge of the system. The Kreks are coming. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They had come so far from that first day when they received the Valani distress call. Ryan had been promoted to Chief Communications Officer for the entire Alliance. Lisa was now the lead scientist studying alien technology. Maya Rodriguez commanded the Alliance's mixed fighter squadrons. All ships, this is Captain Morrison, Jake announced over the fleet communication system. The Kreks Empire has chosen war over peace. They want to enslave the galaxy and turn every world into a resource mine. But we won't let that happen. The response came from hundreds of ships at once. Voices in dozens of languages, all saying the same thing. They were ready to fight. The Kreks fleet appeared at the edge of the system like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. Their ships were bigger than before, covered in even more weapons. At the center of the formation was a massive vessel that dwarfed everything else. My God, Lisa whispered. That thing is the size of a small moon. It's the Kreks Emperor's personal flagship, Admiral Webb reported. The World Killer. Intelligence says it has enough firepower to destroy an entire planet. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Kreks weren't just coming to conquer. They were coming to commit genocide on a galactic scale. All ships defensive? Formation Omega, Jake ordered. Protect the civilian evacuation ships. The Alliance fleet moved into position. Human vessels took point, their smaller size and superior maneuverability making them ideal for the first wave of attacks. Behind them, the heavier alien ships prepared their main weapons. The battle began with a massive exchange of fire. Kreks energy beams lanced across space, while Alliance ships responded with kinetic weapons and exotic alien technologies. The space around Aquatica Prime lit up like a deadly fireworks display. Kreks fighters incoming. Maya's voice crackled over the radio. All squadrons engage. The fighter battle was chaos. Kreks ships moved in rigid formations, while Alliance fighters used human-taught tactics. They struck from unexpected angles, used asteroids for cover, and coordinated attacks between different species. Colonel Johnson led the first boarding assault against a Kreks heavy cruiser. His mixed teams of humans Valani and Granite People worked together perfectly. The Valani used their swimming skills to navigate flooded sections of the ship. The Granite People provided heavy firepower. The humans coordinated everything. Bridge secured, Johnson reported. The Kreks crew is surrendering. They're saying something about fighting ghosts. That was the key to the Alliance's success. The Kreks still thought in terms of species fighting species. They couldn't understand enemies who shared tactics and technology across racial lines. But the real challenge was the World Killer. The massive ship pushed through the battle, its weapons destroying Alliance vessels with single shots. Nothing seemed able to stop it. Captain, Reef Singer Coral Dreams called from the Leviathan. The Deep Singers have an idea, but it's very dangerous. What kind of idea? We can call the creatures of deep space, the things that live in the void, between stars. They hate the Kreks because their ships disturb the cosmic currents. Jake had heard rumors about these space creatures, ancient beings that were so large they were mistaken for asteroids. Most scientists thought they were myths. Can you really do that? We can try. But we need time to sing the Great Summoning. You've got it. All ships, protect the Leviathan. The Alliance fleet formed a protective circle around the Villani bioship. Coral Dreams and her singers began their work, their voices creating harmonies that seemed to reach across the galaxy. The Krex Emperor's voice boomed across all communication channels. Surrender now, Deathworlders. Your pathetic alliance cannot stop the might of the Krex Empire. We'll see about that, Jake replied. The space around the battlefield began to change. Reality seemed to ripple and bend. Then, from the deepest parts of space, they came. The void creatures were massive beyond comprehension. They looked like living nebulae, with bodies made of cosmic dust and starlight. Their presence warped space itself. The Krex fleet panicked. Their ships scattered in all directions as the void creatures moved among them. The World Killer fired its main weapon at one of the beings, but the energy beam simply passed through it harmlessly. Impossible, the Krex Emperor screamed. Nothing can defeat the Krex Empire. But the void creatures weren't interested in fighting. They simply absorbed the Krex ships, taking them into their cosmic bodies, where they would drift forever in the spaces between stars. One by one, the Krex vessels vanished. The mighty fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for generations was gone in minutes. The World Killer tried to escape, but the largest void creature caught it easily. The Emperor's final transmission was a scream of rage that echoed across the galaxy, and there was silence. The void creatures departed as mysteriously as they had arrived, leaving the Alliance fleet alone among the stars. The war was over. All ships, report status, Jake called. The responses came in from across the fleet. Casualties were lighter than expected. The Alliance had won a complete victory. Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to change. The Krex empires conquered. Worlds declared their independence. Species that had been enemies for centuries began talking about peace. The Freedom Alliance became a permanent organization dedicated to protecting the weak and preventing future wars. Jake stood in his quarters. Aboard Hope's Harbor, looking out at the stars. A soft chime announced a visitor. Coral Dreams entered, her skin patterns showing contentment. The Deep Singers have composed a new song, she said. It tells the story of the Deathworlders, who came from the nightmare world to bring peace to the galaxy. We're not Deathworlders, Jake said quietly. We're just people who believe in doing what's right. Perhaps, Coral Dreams replied. But to us, you will always be the swimmers who dove into the deepest darkness to bring light to the galaxy. Jake smiled. The galaxy had called them Deathworlders because they thought Earth had made humans into monsters. But the truth was different. Earth had made humans into something much more important. Protectors, guardians, people who would stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. The stars stretched out before them, full of possibilities. There would be other threats, other species in need of help. But the galaxy was no longer alone. The Deathworlders would be there, ready to answer the call. And in the deep places of space, the void creatures sang their own songs. Songs of approval for the small beings who had learned that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the courage to protect. The age of the Deathworlders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.